Hey guys, Program Made Easy here, and today we are going to be talking about the string object in Java. And as we've already talked about in previous videos, the string is a non-primitive data type, and so we can classify that as an object in Java. And the string is a sequence of characters. So today we are specifically going to be diving into this functions that we have available with strings. We're going to be talking about string concatenation, which is just joining two strings together into one string. So let's dive right into it. So I've already imported my scanner. So I'm going to create a new scanner and we're going to call it user input, and it's going to be equal to the system.in. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to be accepting some sort of string, and we're going to say we're going to call it user string, and it's going to be equal to our user input.next, right? Because next accepts some sort of string object. So that's the data type we want to use. And then if we then type user string and then put a period, as you see, all of these options come up, and this is all of the available methods we can actually call with this object. So if you see, we have equals, so that's to check if two strings are equal to each other, meaning that just how the equals relational operator, right? Remember we learned about this relational operator, which checks if two numbers are equal to each other. This equals checks if two strings are equal to each other. So let's do an example of this here. I'm going to call it correct name, and it's going to be equal to my name, Programming Made Easy. So we're going to say if, remember we're going to use our conditional statements here that we learned in the previous video, if the user string, right, if what the user equals the correct name, so if what the user inputs equals the correct name, then we're going to output you are programming made easy. Otherwise, we're going to output you are not programming made easy. So then if we run this program right and check out what happens, we're going to input some sort of name. So here we're just going to try something that's, we're going to input the name Andrew, and you are not programming made easy. Okay, so then let's run it again. And then let's type it exactly how I did. You are programming made easy, right? Because it checks if this sequence of characters that the user inputted is equal to this sequence of characters. And because it was, it went to the true code block and executed that. Okay, so that's one of the functions we can use, right? That's that dot equals. So that's cool. I'm just going to erase all this up to the user string. So that's another way of using that relational operator, right? Because it's an object, if you were to use this relational operator, like you're saying, why couldn't I just check if the user string is equal to the correct string, right? And the reason you can't is because the computer is just thinking about these as spaces in memory, right? Because remember, whenever we're creating a variable, all we're doing is creating space in memory for that. And you have what's called a pointer pointing to that. And so these will just be comparing memory addresses, right? So you can never actually use that relational operator in this case. If you want to check if the contents of a string is equal to the contents of another string, you have to use that dot equals keyword. Okay, cool. And then also that was to show that adding any type of period to an object lets you bring up all the functions and methods that you have available to use for that object. So that's also very helpful. So now let's do some string concatenation and some cool things with this. So we'll just say to the user that we're going to say, please input a string, which is something we're already doing, right? So we're going to take some sort of user string, and then we're going to learn about some of these other methods we have at our fingertips. So we're going to then say the user string dot length, right? And we're going to have that equal a variable, and we're going to have it equal an integer called size. So this user string dot length is going to get the amount of characters that the user inputted. So now we can maybe do some string concatenation to show that as well. So if you remember, string concatenation is joining two strings into one overall structure. So we can then, and that's done with the plus operator, if you guys remember that. So we're going to say the string, and then we're going to add the user string, and then we say we're going to concatenate that with something else with this other plus, right? So we're going to concatenate the string with whatever the user string is, and then we're going to concatenate that with another phrase, and we're going to say is of length, and then we're going to add another space. Because if you notice, if you don't add a space, they're actually the compiler will put the user string, it would put the string here. So like if we entered programming made easy, it would look like that. But then when we add this extra space, it puts the programming made easy here. Okay, so now that we have that established, we're going to add the last part of our concatenation, and that's going to be the size. Okay, so now let's output this and see what happens. So if we input a string, we're going to input the name Andrew, and it's of length 6, right? There's 6 characters in this sequence, so the string is of length 6. Okay, cool. Now let's see what else we can do with this string. So maybe we can say user string. We're going to redefine the string here, right? So this is reassigning the string. So we're going to say user string equals the user string dot, and then let's see what else we have here. So 2 uppercase and 2 lowercase. These are 2 pretty handy methods. So why don't we see what that does? So 2 uppercase, and then we'll S out the user string, and we'll say is the capitalized version of your string. And then maybe we run this again, right? And we'll do a different string. We'll say programming made easy is our string. And the string programming made easy is of length 19 because there's 19 characters in this sequence. And then if you see, it's all capitalized because we reassigned it to the capitalized version. And then we could rerun this with the same thing and do 2 lowercase. Version of your string. And then we rerun this and we type the same string, programming made easy, and then we see it's all lowercase. Alright guys, so that brings us to the end of the tutorial on strings and the string object in Java. If you like this video, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below, and that will help me improve this channel. Okay, join us in the next video for loops. Until then.